Well, here I am. This is my office here in Fort Lauderdale, right there. That's where I normally conduct business, right there on my hammock. And just kidding. And you know, I often get calls from catamaran buyers who call me up and they say, I want a 45-foot catamaran with low engine hours, owner version for $200,000. What you got? And well, I have to say nothing, because this is really a mission impossible. It's very difficult to find really many good catamarans, even under $250,000, and I'd like to explain why that is. And the simple answer is that catamarans are twice the boat. You know, if you measure the amount of fiberglass resin that goes into a catamaran, it's double what a monohull has. You have two engines and drives systems compared to one in a monohull, or in most monohulls. The electrical wiring can be double the wiring of a monohull, because you know, you have two hulls instead of one. Plumbing, same thing. Steering system, same. So it just costs more to build them. And so when you find a, say, 40-footer or larger under, say, $200,000 to $250,000, it's we got some low-flying planes here on the beach. Usually they are older cats. They have high engine hours. They're really either borderline money pits or getting ready to become a money pit. Okay, now I define a money pit as a yacht that every time you go out, something new breaks. Every time. I have a charter fleet in Miami, and you know, we had a Lagoon 380 that my charterers and members in my club loved that boat. But every time it went out, something else broke, and it was a minimum of $1,000 to $5,000 to fix every little thing that went wrong, because it was 7 years old. It had not been well maintained in its early life, and this is just what happens to all catamarans sooner or later. No matter how well built they are, they turn into money pits sooner or later. Now, some people say, well, if the price is low enough, I'd consider buying a money pit, and I'll do it myself. I'll fix it up. I'm handy with tools. I've fixed up a number of houses. Well, here's the problem with that. Systems on yachts in recent years have gotten more proprietary. That is, the manufacturers have come up with all these systems that are more difficult for you to do it yourself and fix them. So for example, electronics, if you even open the case up, well, that voids the warranty. And many times we send electronics back that, you know, the warranty's gone, and they always say, oh, well, you have to buy a new one, you know, too bad. And you know, engines have gotten more complex. Rigging, you need special tools to be able to handle the pressures, to do swedge fittings and such and so on. So it's very difficult with these older boats to determine your costs to fix them up in advance. And the reason for that is that when you have one of these older boats and you go to a contractor who's an expert in fixing something, they always say, yeah, I'll give you a quote. Let's see. Okay, well, let's see. I did something like that recently. It's around $5,000, you know. And so then you say, okay, fine, get started. And so they get into the job. They take it apart, And about halfway through they say, well, this is worse than I thought. And, you know, so now it's going to cost double what I told you before. And you might say, forget it. Forget it, you know, you didn't treat me right, you know. And then, so, and if you try not to pay them, well, they have a mechanics lien on your vessel, and they have some of your parts held hostage back in their shop that you need to do the repair. So, you know, that's not an option. And so, you know, it's just a messy situation. And so you have to be really careful with these fixer-uppers. You know, I used to own a boatyard here in Florida, and I used to buy older money pits and fix them up and resell them. And, you know, I bought some hurricane boats, but I won't do it anymore because it's just too difficult and too risky financially to determine your costs in advance. And costs of technicians has gone up. So this is why I always say, set a budget, try and get the newest boat for the budget that you can afford, okay? Because the worst thing about money pits is the unreliability of them, which in turn affects the safety of the boat. So, you know, if you're in a storm and you're sailing along a leeward shore and it's gusting in and you have your engines fail or your rig fails or whatever, well, you're going to get cast up on the rocks over there, and that is not good. So, you know, the worst thing about money pits is really not all your time dealing with all these issues that are never ending. It's safety. I mean, you know, you don't really want to be out in the middle of nowhere and have your systems fail. You need reliability. And that's precisely why these charter companies sell the boats usually in year 5 or 6, because they know the boat has a few more years of life left, and they don't want that unreliability, because, you know, when they have one charter after another 7 weeks in a row in the high season, they don't have time to be dealing with repairs. They have to turn that boat around and get it ready. So now you might be saying, well, geez, what's the solution? Just forget about a catamaran? Well, no. There are some good boats, and I would recommend looking at Lagoon 380s. There have been a number of them sail around the world. They're perfectly fine to do that. They're good blue water cats. They have good headroom, good load carrying capacity, which is what you need when you're crossing oceans, you know, and you have to store extra fuel, extra supplies and water, parts and things like that. The Fountain Peugeot Mahe 36 owner versions, they're good. The Island Spirit 37s and 40s are good. They're proven boats. If you can find the rare Privilege 37, they only build about a dozen of them, but those boats have king-size beds right forward of the salon. It's a very cool boat, but it's hard to find those. And barring those, just look for a good center cockpit monohull. You know, some of these older ones are good values if they've been well maintained. But, you know, any boat over 12 to 15 years of age are going to have 35 to 50 defects noted at survey, and the seller's attitude will be, well, look, you're not buying a new boat. If you want a perfect boat, go spend 2 to 3 times the money and you'll get a perfect boat. But I'm pricing the boat, you know, for its age, and yeah, it's going to have those defects, and no, I'm not going to fix them. So this is just the way it is. So bottom line here is, you know, buy the boat right and sell it right, and I can explain more about that if you get in touch with me. And the best way is just go to my website, largecatamarandsforsale.com, and I have some instructional videos there and some other valuable things. I also can give you the actual selling prices of catamarans. If you just email me and say, hey, tell me what, you know, prices have been doing for like Lagoon 380s, you know, just give me one model at a time, because it's an awful lot of data to have to go harvest. So yeah, give me an email, Give me a text, give me a call. Look forward to working with you. Smooth sailing.